Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Harry Potter who lived under the stairs in a house on Privet Drive with his aunt and uncle. He was a good, obedient boy who did all of his chores, but he felt that there was something missing in his life. Something big and special, but he could not quite name it. He stayed up every night and wished for this special something. But then one day, there was a knock at his door, and everything changed.
"Answer the door, Harry!"
His Aunt Petunia, a career woman, barked from her armchair where she sat with her feet up. She had short, curly blonde hair and never wore any makeup. Uncle Vernon nodded sheepishly from the kitchen and put a tray of moist, chocolatey brownies in the oven.
"Shouldn't you be doing that?"
Harry thought, but he was a very obedient young boy, so he answered the door right away. He turned the brass metal doorknob and pulled open the heavy wooden door. On the porch was standing a huge, muscular man with a big, manly beard, and he was dressed in a plaid brown shirt, blue jeans, and sturdy leather boots. His chest was covered in a thick, unruly carpet of coarse brown hair. He wore a necklace that looked to Harry like a lowercase t. Just him looking at Harry made him feel happy, peaceful somehow, but he couldn't say why.
"Good morning, kiddo."
The man greeted amiably and smiled at Harry. He had the peaceful, friendly sort of face you just knew you could trust.
"My name is Hagrid. Could I speak to your mommy and daddy?"
"I don't have a mommy or daddy,"
Harry replied sadly and looked at his raggedy old shoes that were blue. Perhaps that is why he felt so lonely, he thought, not for the first time. Maybe that was what he was missing, a mommy and daddy. But no, that was not quite right.
"I am so sorry to hear that,"
Hagrid uttered empathetically.
"You can speak with my auntie and uncle."
Harry retorted politely and blinked his big blue childish eyes.
"What do you want?"
Aunt Petunia peered out the door with her narrow, suspicious eyes, and she was wearing a baggy, unflattering pantsuit.
"Hello, neighbor. I was wondering if you have been saved,"
Hagrid exclaimed brightly and tipped his wide-brimmed straw cowboy hat. Aunt Petunia laughed a gravely laugh and leaned forward on her sturdy, practical boots.
"Saved? Don't tell me you were one of those Christians."
Harry did not know what that word meant, but Hagrid's smile was the most peaceful smile he had ever seen. It made Harry feel warm and happy inside just seeing the glowing, radiant grin on the kind, friendly stranger's face. He wondered why Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon did not smile like that.
"Yes, I am."
Hagrid replied kindly.
"Are you?"
Aunt Petunia laughed again and stuck her pointy, sharp nose up in the air.
"We are too smart for that. Haven't you read Dawkins? God is dead. Dawkins proved that. Would you like us to educate you on the Dawkins?"
"What is a Christian?"
Harry queried innocently and scuffed his shoe on the shaggy yellow carpet which had not been vacuumed in quite some time.
"Christians are people who want to be good,"
Hagrid explained wisely, and crouched down so he was on eye level with Harry.
"We want to go to heaven after we die. Do you know what heaven is, Harry?"
Harry shook his head, and his big eyes were wide and curious.
"Heaven is a beautiful place where we can be with God."
Aunt Petunia smacked her hands over Harry's young ears, and her voice was sickly sweet when she said,
"Thank you very much for your concern, sir, but he does not need your religion. He has science and socialism and birthdays. Haven't you heard of evolution? I have a very good textbook on evolution that I could give you on it if you want to learn things."
Hagrid laughed wisely.
"Evolution is a fairy tale. You don't really believe that, do you?"
"Yes, I do!"
Aunt Petunia screeched.
"Well, then prove it."
Aunt Petunia could only stare at him, and her big mouth hung open dumbly. Here she thought she was so educated and always demanded that Christians prove what they believed in, but she could not even prove her own religion. It was then that Harry knew who the smart one here was.
"Tell me how to get to this heaven place,"
Harry cried, wistfully, clasping his hands together. Sometimes the wisdom of little ones is really amazing. We think we grown-ups know it all, but then God speaks through the mouths of little ones and shows us how we are all mortals struggling along the path of life. Humility.
"All you have to do is be saved. Do you want to be saved?"
I do!
Harry squealed, jumping up and down.
"Then pray the sinner's prayer."
Aunt Petunia tried to stop him, but she was powerless against Harry's pure, innocent, holy energy. Soon Harry had said the prayer. Hagrid beamed happily.
"You're a Christian now, Harry,"
Hagrid cried proudly. Harry smiled, and then interrogated.
"But how do I be a Christian? I don't know how."
Hagrid grinned widely.
"There is only one place to learn that. Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles."
"Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles?"
Harry queried and clasped his hands. Just at hearing that name, he felt such a sense of inner peace. He wanted to have more of that peace, but he wanted to learn how to be a good Christian. He was starting to think that peace and being a good Christian were in fact the same exact thing.
"I want to go there."
Hagrid beamed widely. He had been praying so hard to save a soul today, and he was so happy to have saved the soul of such a sweet, earnest little one. The poor boy, being raised by two parents who were not Christian, and who both went to work and left him with a babysitter all day long. It was a good thing Hagrid had been there in time. 5 years down the road, Harry might have been a fornicating, drug-addict evolutionist.
Don't be silly, Harry.
Aunt Petunia commanded, and wrung her long, bony hands.
Come back inside. I will read to you about evolution from the Dawkins. You do not need that silly religion.
Harry scrunched up his innocent little face and thought very hard. Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon were as close to parents as he had, and this was the only home he knew. Could he really leave? But he was saved now. He had prayed the sinner's prayer. He could not stay here anymore, not with what he knew now. Suddenly, he knew what he had to do.
No, Aunt Petunia.
He uttered calmly with childlike wisdom.
Evolution is not real, and I am going to Hogwarts.
No, Harry.
Aunt Petunia screeched desperately.
I have an idea. You can have a second birthday today. You like birthdays, right?
Birthdays are not of God.
Harry verbalized knowingly and looked at his aunt with an innocent wisdom.
You tried to corrupt me, but it did not work. But I forgive you, Aunt Petunia, because of Luke 23:34.
Hagrid was amazed once again at the wisdom of little ones. He did not know if he could forgive someone who had hurt him as much as this woman had hurt little Harry. Deny him the truth? Who could be so cruel? But Harry did not even think twice about it. He forgave, just like that. Truly, Hagrid gained a new understanding of Matthew 19:14 that day. "Do not leave, Harry!" Dudley wailed childishly.
I must.
Harry said, and stepped over the threshold.
Goodbye, Dursleys. I hope you are saved too one day.
With that, he and Hagrid began to walk down Private Drive.
How will we get to this school, Hagrid?
Harry queried curiously.
We will pray.
Hagrid retorted knowledgeably.
How will we do that?
Harry solaced inquisitively.
Watch.
Hagrid said, and then got down on his knees on the road. He motioned for Harry to get down on his knees too. Hagrid raised his hands to the heaven and cried out in a deep, thunderous voice.
Dear Lord, take us to Hogwarts.
Harry felt himself being whisked away, and in a moment he was sitting in the cool, damp grass outside a humongous, beautiful castle. He stood in awe at the tall towers and the grey stones. What a beautiful place! A tall, thin man with a long, pointed beard and big, wire spectacles stood in front of Harry. He was wearing a brown tweed suit and a nice matching hat. His shoes were made of leather and polished until they shone. He had a smile much like Hagrid's smile. So peaceful, Harry knew he could trust him. A lovely, kindly young woman with flowing blonde hair and a pleasant, heart-shaped face stood beside this holy man.
Hello there, little one.
The man greeted amicably.
I'm the Reverend Albus Dumbledore, and this is my wife Minerva. Welcome to Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles.